March is Brain Injury Awareness Month, and the Texas Health and Human Services Department is working to bring attention to this issue. Officials say every year, 144,000 Texans get a brain injury from things like falls or medical conditions like strokes. I'm told in Texas, we see a higher number of brain injuries from car crashes. Through this campaign, they hope to lower those numbers.
So we really wanted to focus on resiliency and recovery and how you bounce forward, especially after someone has experienced such a traumatic event.
For a list of resources available to those impacted by brain injury, head to our website, christv.com.
After COVID restrictions around the world nearly wiped out the flu last season, the influenza virus is back for some. It's a double whammy. Researchers studied more than 300,000 adults hospitalized with COVID within the last 2 years. They say patients diagnosed with both COVID and the flu were in the most danger.
We found that if you have COVID and you also test positive for flu in hospital, then your risk of dying is doubled, and your risk of needing a life support machine or a ventilator is quadrupled.
As both viruses circulate, researchers expect the mixed infection to become more common and say anyone offered vaccines against COVID or the flu should get them immediately.
And ALS patients are hoping for a new treatment for the disease, but there is some debate if the review of the drug from Amylyx Pharmaceuticals is coming too soon. An FDA advisory committee is set to review the drug tomorrow. The agency said the company could submit the drug based on a smaller study instead of the traditional required two large late-stage studies for approval.
I think the challenge with this drug in the context of ALS is that the potential to add 6.5 months of life onto to someone who's living with ALS is a really big deal. People with ALS typically have a lifespan of only 2 to 5 years.
Doctors say the study results so far have shown minimal side effects, and right now we don't know yet how much this ALS drug would cost and if insurance would even cover it.
Well, don't forget to eat your greens tonight, your vegetables. New research out of London shows that just a single serving of vegetables a day improves mental health. The study analyzed data from about 40,000 British citizens, and researchers found that people who ate one portion of fruits and vegetables reported higher levels of mental well-being compared to those who ate less. They also found people who ate vegetables daily had the same results on improved mental health as people who walked at least 10 minutes a day. Still ahead right here on Sunrise today, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear a case involving a local Army veteran, Leroy Torres. Coming up, an in-depth look at how this case can impact the nation.
And at 6:42, we bring you these top stories: how the weather caused a deadly 60-car pileup on a Pennsylvania highway, plus how new penalties will impact more of Russia's economy, and peace talks continue in Turkey. First up, though, a look at what's ahead on the Today Show.
Good morning, guys. Coming up on Today, Will Smith's overnight apology to Chris Rock as the star faces potentially losing his Oscar for that onstage slap. Plus, we'll take a closer look at the Smiths' complicated history with the comedian. Also ahead, we are live in London at this morning's memorial, paying tribute to the Queen's husband, Prince Philip, and his life of public service. It's an event that's also making headlines for the royals who are and who are not in attendance. Those stories, plus the legacy of one of NASA's legendary hidden figures, living on in her equally remarkable great-granddaughter. We cannot wait for you to meet her when we get started in just a bit, right here on Today.
You're watching Chris 6 News Sunrise.
And a good Tuesday morning, everyone. Thank you for waking up with us. Here are this morning's top stories.
At least 3 people are dead after a chain reaction crash on a Pennsylvania highway. Wow, as many as 60 cars were involved in that pileup on Interstate 81 near Harrisburg. This happened as a snowstorm passed through the area, covering the roadway with ice while limiting visibility severely.
That guy lucked out right there. And a new round of sanctions on Russia will target other parts of its economy, such as its supply chains. Now, the U.S. Deputy Treasury Secretary is meeting with allies in London today to discuss how to carry out new sanctions. Now, the sanctions will also target certain companies in those sectors of Russia's economy.
And negotiators from Russia and Ukraine are meeting this morning in Turkey. Turkey's president said now is the time to expect solid outcomes and believes both sides have reached an understanding on 4 of the 6 topics discussed during previous negotiations. Another top story today, Leroy Torres is headed to Washington, D.C. The Robstown native and founder of Burn Pits 360 filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas back in 2017 after he says he was pressured to resign from his job. And now the Supreme Court is hearing the case. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Joe St. George joins us live with an in-depth look at this case. Good morning to you. Can you give us the background on this and what's involved and who are the key players?
Yeah, well, first off, it's not every day that a South Texas man can come to Washington and not just impact his family's life, not just impact the state of Texas and rules and procedures going forward, but really impact veterans around the country. But that's what really is at stake for Leroy Torres, a story that we've certainly covered here on Chris 6 News for years. As you know, for those that are familiar with the story, a former Texas state trooper who was deployed to Iraq. While there, he says he was exposed to burn pits, which is the burning oftentimes of waste by the military that has caused harmful health implications for many veterans around the country. Mr. Torres says that when he came back to the U.S., his health changed so much that he couldn't return to his former job within the Department of Public Safety in Texas, and that he needed special accommodations, and that there was disagreements with the state of Texas over what that looked like. Ultimately, he resigned. He has sued the state of Texas, saying that they should have better provided accommodations for him and his health conditions after returning from the battlefield. Lawsuit, $5 million or so. Today's oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court is really about whether or not Texas can be sued in this case. This isn't going to end the legal situation, but it certainly, if the justices rule one way, could end the legal fight for Mr. Torres, which he says isn't just for him, but for veterans across the country, guys.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit more about that ripple effect? How can the outcome of this case impact our nation's service members?
Well, what Mr. Torres and his attorneys are arguing in front of the Supreme Court this morning is that under federal law, businesses must make accommodations for veterans when they return. And his argument is that the state of Texas needs to follow that law, and that if for some reason that this law is not enforced in Texas in this case, then veterans around the country will gradually be impacted, especially by state governments and their jobs that they would be returning to when they return from the battlefield. So he's making the connection that, look, there's a federal law that exists. Veterans must be accommodated. Texas is saying it doesn't necessarily apply to them because they are a state government, that they have immunity, sovereignty in this case, and that therefore they shouldn't be impacted. But Mr. Torres is saying if he isn't allowed to sue, then thousands of veterans could potentially be impacted around the country in the coming years.
Joe, my last question. Do you know about when we can expect a possible ruling?
Yeah, this doesn't